3, 2.
Good evening, everyone. This is High Point Mayor Jay Wagner. For those listening online, I'm calling to order our High Point City Council regular meeting for February 6, 2023. Again, thank you for those who've come out tonight, and for those listening online, we do have a quorum present. All members of council are present with the exception of Councilman Wesley Hudson. I would like to begin the meeting with asking everybody to rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First on our agenda is our strategic plan update. I'll begin with Councilmember Chris Williams.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. This report summary will cover the local code enforcement activities for the month of January 2023. The minimum housing, we had 29 new citizen complaints, 14 city initiated complaints. Demolition ordinances, we had 4 units pending asbestos abatement and demolition, 1 owner initiated demolition, 1 unit with the order to demolition appeal period, 1 unit in pending for council, 7 units pending repairs, and that will be 1205 Filbert, 1215 East Russell, 613 Manley, 1105 Forest, 524 Cross, 1222 Carter, and 337 Wingo. Public nuisances, we have 44 new citizen complaints, 52 new city initiated cases, and 52 cases abated, 14 by the city, 38 by the owner. Zoning, we have 18 new citizen complaints, 60 city initiated complaints, 124 signs collected. A total of active cases are 452, so that would be 253 minimum housing, 76 public housing nuisance cases, and 123 zoning cases. I will now turn the floor over to Lori. Sorry, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. So last month we did not get to do the presentation, so I'm just going to kind of do a catch-up on December and January. So in December of 2022, our new cases, we started minimum housing, we started a total of 31, and of that, 8 were city-initiated, 23 were complaints that came in. The public nuisance is 61 total complaints, total cases that were started, and 36 of those were inspector-initiated. So we're, as you can see, our job is to be proactive, so it's kind of slow right now, but we did initiate more cases than the complaints that came in. And then zoning, we had 36 city-initiated cases and 11 were complaints. And then for January, minimum housing, there were 14 city-initiated cases, 29 complaints that came in for a total of 43. Public nuisance, we still had a few more than the complaints. We had 52 city-initiated and 44 complaints that came in. And then zoning, 60 initiated cases for the zoning, and then 18 were complaints for a total of 78. Any questions on those numbers or anything? So the house I was going to show last month was 1113 Jefferson Street. We're just continuing on because it's so nice, of housing that is repaired. And these are 2 houses that have been going on for quite a while now. But 1113 Jefferson Street, we had originally started in March of 2018. We held a hearing. We issued an order for demolition. They then sold the property. Then you all passed an ordinance for demolition in July of 2021. And then the owner says, now I'm really going to make repairs. And they obtained a permit, and and started making the repairs, and it actually finally got its CO just last month. And that this is going to be an owner-occupied property. And this is what it had looked like originally when it was brought to council. And I think they started doing work without permits as well, but they got all that straightened out. And so it was repaired, and this is what it looks like now. And you can see they were ready to move in. And then the next one was 210 Underhill Street, and this is going to be rental property. When I spoke with the owner, I asked him. So we'd originally started this one in July of 2017. The ordinance for demolition was passed in December of 2020. The owners said they wanted to work out something, they would get it done, and they just had it completed the very end of December, and we closed our case. That's when they got their certificate of occupancy, and we closed our case in January. And this is what it had looked like previously. And that's it. Anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Love to see these. I'm coming. That's all we have, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Holmes, would you like to give an update on our marketing?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are in the final stretch of our strategic marketing and branding campaign. We have our February meeting on the 28th, where we hope to see some of the brand standards that have been created, and we're on pace for our delivery in April. So, exciting time. So, be looking forward for the new and exciting High Point brand that's going to come.
All right. Thank you. Anyone have questions about either of those updates? All right. Next thing on the agenda is the public comment period. The public comment period is held at our first meeting of each month. Unless we don't have that meeting, then we push it back to the second one. There was a sign-in sheet for the public comment period. I have a couple of people on it. If you didn't get a chance to sign and you want to speak during public comment, I'll recognize you after the folks who have signed get their chance to speak. You're allowed to speak for up to 3 minutes on an item which is not on the agenda. If it's on the agenda, then I would ask for you to wait and speak during that time period. When your name is called, you may come to the podium and state your name and address for our record, and then you will have 3 minutes that you can speak. First person on the list is Robert Templeton.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Wagner, distinguished council members, and Madam Manager. My name is Robert Templeton, and I am the newly elected president of the High Point Firefighters Association, Local 673. We are here tonight to introduce ourselves and shed some light on a safety concern. The IAFF represents more than 334,000 firefighters. Our members protect more than 85% of the population in the United States and Canada. We have been around for over 100 years. All that to say, we are experts in customer service. First of all, I would like to thank the manager for taking time to talk with me last week, and I hope that the meeting was beneficial and meaningful to you as it was for me. I hope that we can continue those in the future. I was also glad to hear that the city has ordered a pay study to compare our starting pay with that of those around us. My information shows that we are currently 13th out of 14 cities that we compare to. This single fact has slowed our applicants for firefighters to a trickle. I hope and am asking that when this information is returned to you, that you aggressively raise starting pay to a competitive and healthy living wage for new hires in the fire service. The city has the remaining federal ARPA funds available, and with the recent reevaluated property tax revenue, the burden would not be placed on the backs of taxpayers. Furthermore, we are asking you to evaluate and increase current employees' salaries. with the same desire to reward and retain the elite firefighting team we have here in High Point. This will help to build the morale of the current members who have bravely served the city of High Point through the COVID-19 pandemic and ease the crippling 8.9% inflation we have seen over the past year. A stimulating increase will also help to eliminate the salary compression that the needed increase of starting pay will inevitably cause. In closing, Greensboro Fire, Winston-Salem Fire, Guilford County EMS, and their fire departments have increased starting salaries to stay competitive in the job market. We have fallen behind, far behind. We are understaffed and overworked due to the overtime shifts and cuts to vacation availability. We have been asked to do more with less personnel for so long that we are getting dangerously close to being overwhelmed. Also, with Guilford EMS changing their responses, we are responding to calls for assistance that are not emergencies. And since there is no one else to help our citizens, we must take up the slack. We responded to 17,391 calls last year. That is an over 5,000 more calls than in the year 2011, with the same number of stations and only an increase of 14 line personnel in that decade. We are currently around 30 positions short, with 5 in training to come out in April. We need to act in a decisive and quick manner to show our support for our current employees and our citizens. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about my statement and look forward to hearing from each of you very soon.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Thank y'all.
Lawrence Cormier? Did I say your name correctly? Yes. All right, good.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak today. January 6, 2021, words that should strike fear in the hearts of every American patriot. On that day, domestic terrorists interrupted the peaceful transfer of power guaranteed by the United States Constitution. Over 975 arrests, many convictions, and even 3 convictions of sedition. Every single person involved with the planning, the implementation, and the execution of that coup attempt, including by any elected official, should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, including sedition. But there is no judicial action like we can take today. The lame duck president implored, demanded, and finally set his dogs on Mike Pence, who would not stop the proceedings. According to the House committee investigating the January 6th coup attempt, the New York Times, the News Observer, the Reuters, the Assembly, and Mark Martin was involved. Mark Martin, an informal Trump advisor, along with Chris Kobach and Lawrence Joseph, advised Trump that Pence could stop the peaceful transfer of power. The House report states that Martin advised President Trump that Vice President Pence possessed the constitutional authority to impede the electoral count. Mark Martin also reviewed draft memos from John Eastman, who worked on substituting fake electors. Under the Constitution and the law of the Electoral Count of 1887, the Vice President shall open envelopes from each state, read the vote count, nothing more. Mr. Martin was one of the very first people called by Trump on the evening of January 6th. The lame duck president spoke to him for 9 minutes. There's enough evidence to consider the probability of seditious conspiracy. The city of High Point has a very close relationship to High Point University. HPU has now hired as its founding law dean, Mark Martin, mentioned earlier. Mr. Martin and HPU have not addressed the connection to the White House sedition conspiracy. Martin, an HPU president, have only publicly stated that his professional career has been good. In a direct show of either irony or just simply a nose thumb at any patriot, Mark Martin moderated how lawyers can positively impact society on January 19th. Evidence is clear and concrete that Martin participated in this coup attempt, although he hasn't yet been charged with a crime. The city of High Point should have ethics and the appearance of being ethical at the top of the list for any city actions. I would request the City Council pass a resolution doing the following: condemn the seditious coup attempt by the domestic terrorists who are doing the lame duck president's bidding, and condemn assisting participation by any person in a seditious coup attempt, and stipulate to any corporation or institute that employs a person with even the appearance of participation in a seditious coup attempt that the city of High Point shall have no business dealings with them. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you would like, I have copies of my statement. Should I give them to?
Is there, if you'd like to pass it to the clerk, you may do that. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak during public comment period? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment period. Next thing on the agenda is our Finance Committee items, and I will turn the meeting over to Councilmember Britt Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Wagner. In front of you is the finance agenda that we discussed with the committee on Thursday. I'm sure each of you had a chance to look through it in your packet. It is a consent agenda, and I'm making a motion for approval of the consent agenda for finance.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for the approval of consent agenda items. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes.
That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Next on the agenda are Community Development Committee items. I believe we have one as a consent agenda item, and I will turn the meeting over to Councilmember Williams.
All right, thank you, Mayor. The only item we have is ordinance to demolition of dwelling 508 Sanders. I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
A motion and a second for approval of that item. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion passes.
That is all.
There's one item under planning development that I'll be handling. It is a resolution of intent for, to establish a public hearing date for street abandonment case 22-02 for March 20th, 2023. And I move for approval of that item. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second for approval of this item. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously. Our general business agenda, there's a, there's an appointment for Lauren Matlows and reappointments of Oliver Helsebeck and Leslie Graham to the Theater Advisory Board to be effective immediately with their terms expiring June 1st, 2025. I will move for approval of that item. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Next is item regarding the appointment of Brenda Dietz to the High Point Economic Development Corporation, effective immediately and with her term expiring December 31st, 2023. I will turn it over to, I think Councilmember Moore wanted to speak on this item.
Sure, thank you. Brenda joined us tonight. For many of you know her, and some of us, but yeah, please stand up, let them see you. I've known Brenda for several years. I'm really excited about her appointment. I hope each of you read her resume. She's extremely qualified, and look forward to what she will add to our EDC. So, welcome, Brenda.
You have a motion, Mr.
I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for approval of this item. Any discussion?
Brenda, just thank you so much for being willing to serve. Thank you.
And I will echo that as well. Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That motion passes unanimously. We have some minutes to be approved. Hopefully y'all have had the opportunity to look over these. They go back to October, so we got a little behind. But is there a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
Motion's been made by Councilman Moore. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Jones. Any discussion regarding the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Before we adjourn, is there anyone on council who'd like to make an announcement regarding anything?
Not an announcement, just can I get clarity about one thing? Because I know there's some folks who are curious, and I'm sure finance discussed it, but just if I could ask a real quick question. The ARPA funding that was approved in the consent agenda, I know we approved staff to move forward with a grant application process. And do you have any idea in terms of potential timelines around that and when the community might be on the lookout for that grant application to potentially roll out and next, or even if not for the application rollout, just next steps to be communicated I guess, to the public on that?
They did brief us on that. Manager, if you can help me remember the dates, if you can speak to that. I don't have them memorized.
Absolutely. For the members of the public listening, this is City Manager Tasha Logan Ford. Our next steps for the ARPA funding will be for us to actually have a work session with council. The projects that were approved this evening are projects where we've received some type of federal or state assistance to help move these projects further. So we wanted to commit the portion of city dollars to support those projects as well. We have roughly $5.8 million that's left. And before releasing the application process, we want to have a work session with council to make sure that we've captured all of the projects that the city might be looking to support with those funds. And then we would like to release the amount that would be available to the public for them to actually submit an application to fund those through nonprofit agencies. There is a draft application that has been submitted. It was submitted to the Finance Committee that we'll share with the full board. But our thinking would be that we could have the applications released in March, and then that would give agencies roughly 30 to 45 days to submit their applications. They would then be vetted through city staff, and they would come to the Finance Committee. And then at that point, the Finance Committee would be able to make recommendations to the full council, and our goal would be able to have all of those funding applications approved as part of the budget.
Okay, sorry, I was trying to write and listen, I'm not multitasking well tonight. You said, so
roughly March to have
for the grant
applications
application
roll out.
potentially going out roughly?
30 to
in that
45
time.
days for agencies to get those back in.
Okay.
And that would give us roughly a month or so to go through them as a board. And then the
So looking
council,
at sometime in July, maybe before.
council
decisions are
would
made.
make those final recommendations roughly in June. Our goal would be to have
Oh,
those
June,
out.
okay.
Try to have it ready for budget.
Budget
Well,
season.
budget, okay. That's aggressive, but okay.
Hey, we're.
Finance
We're
gonna be able to
trying.
handle that?
We're trying.
Finance gonna be able to handle that, Chairman Moore?
We got it.
I think the key would be to let agencies know the amount of funding that's available.
We got it covered with your approval.
Anyone else? I think Councilmember Williams.
Just a simple thank you to my colleagues here and to city staff for supporting us through our loss. We really appreciate it. I will say one thing to this. I will say I think the mayor might need to consider opening a restaurant because that's some of the best barbecue. That's right. Stuff that we have. So I really appreciate it. He actually came by the house and dropped off something, and we fed off that thing for quite a bit. So thank you. Thank you all.
Glad I was able to help out. Anyone else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then.
So move. Second.
There's a motion by Councilman Jefferson, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Last chance. Any comments before we adjourn?
I believe today is Chris' birthday.
Oh,
Yesterday?
yes, sir.
Birthday.
All right.
I'm a day behind.
Tyrone, you want to lead us into something?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Chris. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
All right. All in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes and we are adjourned.
It was